Hello punters and welcome back to a Saturday racing preview. Of course, this video looking at the Moonee Valley Cox Plate meeting tomorrow at Moonee Valley, of course. Really looking forward to it. It's always a fantastic day of racing. We've got a 10 race program to get through. Obviously, if you're new here, just a quick rundown of what I do here. So I sort of go through each race on the program, have a look at each race, and then I put together a top four. And then give any sort of chances as well of anything else that I seem to like in the race. So if you are new here, really hit the subscribe button. I appreciate all of you that continue to subscribe every week. There's always a couple more of you that jump on board, and obviously hit the notification bell as well, which means you'll get this video as soon as I upload it. It'll come through either on your phone, tablet, laptop, whatever it is. You'll get a notification for it, and you'll be able to see this video straight away. So what I'm going to quickly do is I was going to do a video for tonight's Mexicana Stakes meeting. Obviously didn't get enough time for that, so apologies in advance. But for those of you that are going to be lucky enough to watch this video perhaps while the race is going on, I'm not sure exactly when you're going to consume this video, but if you are watching this nice and early, I'm going to make a really strong push for Trekkie in the Mexicana. I know he's the favourite, but for me, he just looks the really tough horse to beat. I made him my best bet of the night, so I thought it was worth mentioning this video just in case any of you can get on it. I just think the 7-8 back from the Everest looks to just suit him really nicely. He was terrific first up in the Moya. He only narrowly finished 0.8 of a length behind Pippi on that occasion. I just think that extra 200 metres, he looks drawn to get a perfect run in the race. Looks to be a little bit of speed on. And, you know, I just think he's going to get a perfect run. He's going to come into it and finish off strongly, and he'll be too good for this field. So trekking is my best bet of the program for the Mexicana Stakes. Now, of course, Mexicana Stakes is in race number 8, so still plenty of time to get on. If you do get on this video nice and early, hopefully you can do. But if not, if any of you guys do follow me on social media, you won't have missed it. Obviously, I've posted my tips on there. So if you are new, go and check my social media pages out where I post all these tips that I'm going to mention in this video. Plus, I do daily tips every single day for the meetings of Victoria, and then do a couple of meetings in New South Wales, and then also look at tracks such as the WA, South Australia, and Queensland. Any of the racing there as well, and also look at Hong Kong racing as well. I like to have a bit of a go there as well, so go and check that out. _racing tips on Instagram and _lane racing tips on Facebook. So look, without any further ado, we've got a 10 race program to get through, so we're going to have to try and get stuck straight into it. So first race on the program tomorrow at Moonee Valley. This stage, look, the track's a good 3 at the moment on Mexicana. This is obviously Mexicana Stakes night right now, and looking at 6 o'clock at the moment. But look, there's forecast to be a lot of rain. There was forecast to be a lot of rain for this meeting here tonight at Moonee Valley, and so I think by tomorrow we'll be looking definitely in the soft range. I think probably soft 6 or 7 is a good potential with the rain we're going to get overnight. So look at the speed map in the first race of the program. 955 metre blink and they're gone race to start off the program. Look, I can see Free of Debt, Holbein, Jungle Edge. She'll probably try and lead that up. Now, Ancestry's got a hard barrier from out there of the odds-on favourite. Really tough to overcome that wide barriers. Probably going to have to try and slot in and hope to get a bit of cover. I reckon it'd be pretty tough to get it across some of these. So look, Ancestry has been terrific so far to date. There's obviously carving a massive knock on him and what he's done so far as preparation. But as for $1.55, looks pretty short to me, and obviously that wide barrier doesn't help either. If he had a drawn inside, I probably would have made him a good thing. But obviously not to back because $1.55 is just too short. But the fact that he's drawn wide, I can see him getting beaten. So as such, I'm going to make a case for something else. And look, he's got to carry a lot of weight, Jungle Edge, but I do think that he could be a chance in a race like this to be right there in the finish, especially on a wet track. So he's my top selection. Then in for second, I've got a horse that really does race well fresh, and it's the 4 Centurion. I think this horse doesn't like a wet track, but it does run well on heavy tracks. So it's really interesting. This horse had 6 starts on a soft for 0 wins, 0 placings, but has run on a heavy track twice for 2 wins. So if we get into that real deep soft range, so we're looking at a soft 7, or if we can even get to a heavy 8, I think that might be a stretch for tomorrow. But if you get to that soft 7 range, I think this horse has a chance, especially from that barrier number 2, and has a good fresh record. So wouldn't be the worst chance at big odds. I expect that Tony, Cody, and Free of Debt will be scratched from tomorrow's race because they're lined up 2 races tonight on Mexicana Stakes night. So I presume that obviously they won't get scratched from this meeting. They'll stay in this meeting and be scratched for tomorrow. So we're looking at probably just the what was it? 1, 2, 3, 4. the 6 horses to go around tomorrow in the end. So yeah, as such, look, Jungle Edge looks to be the bet for me. Centurion in for second. Ancestry, look, nothing against it. I just think that the wide barrier just could be a little bit of a query. Obviously, the smaller field might help it a little bit more to find a slot in the race and be able to swing into it. But it's only 955 metres, so every chance could get caught wide. It could still be too good, but I think $1.55 is too short for me. So it goes in for third. And then in for fourth, I've got number 9, Condos Express. So obviously comes back to Moonee Valley, a track that this horse performs really well at. It's had 4 starts for 2 wins and a placing here at the surface. So it doesn't mind a bit of sting out of the track either, and it hasn't seen a soft track this whole preparation so far. So maybe that might see the return to form about this horse. So $21, a bit over the odds about it as well, and you could definitely have something on that horse there. So look, I'd be it's easier race you could play pretty wide on. Like, I'll probably end up having something small each way, not even each way, just straight on the win for Centurion and Condos Express. I mean, I'll probably be happy to take on Jungle Edge and Ancestry. But look, Jungle Edge is my on top selection. I think he's the best winning chance, and as such, you can definitely have a go at him and take on the favourite with a bit of confidence. But for me, it's not really a strong betting race. It's probably just something, something small in the roughies, and that's about it. Ancestry's in for third. Obviously, second, the 4 Centurion. And then in for fourth, number 9, Condos Express for me in the opening race of the program. Race number 2 for the 2-year-olds, the English Banner, obviously over 1,000 metres. Look, very hard to judge a bit of a speed map here. I know that Tatsuro, based off its debut run, will roll forward. I think some of the horses on the inside barrier, Sneaky 5, showed a bit of pace in its jump out, so I think it'll roll forward. Predetermined will probably be up there, close to the speed. I can see the likes of Capital Raider probably will try and sit in behind, I reckon. Not sure that horse will take on the speed, but the Art of Flying probably will also take on. So, I mean, these 2-year-old races, always a bit of speed on, and over 1,000 metres as well. You're expected a genuine tempo, and I think it'll just be the best horse in the race to win that ever gets the best run. And I can really see this horse here, the Son of Mercury, getting a really good run from that barrier number 6 there. I think it should be able to sit just in behind the speed and be able to peel out on the turn and finish over the top of them. And I hope that is the case. This horse is obviously $250,000 horse from and had a really good jump out back on the 13th of October. So literally, 10 days ago. So I think this horse can run really well first up. So it's my top selection ahead of number 5, Predetermined, who also jumped out really nicely. It was 3 wide on speed in its jump out, and still just kept closing nicely. I like that performance. Only $60,000 yearling. But I think this horse could be in for a good showing first up. Again, similarly to Son of Mercury, looks to get a really good run in the race from barrier number 5. So it goes in for second. In for third, I've got number 8, Tatsuro, who obviously has the race experience. And Damien Oliver in the saddle, I'm surprised this horse is 20-1, to be honest. I mean, it's 1-2 jump outs coming into its debut performance, and then didn't really fire, but I think that was a pretty decent form race. Fake Love looks to be a really good 2-year-old going forward, so has the race experience, could derive a lot of benefit off of that run. So I think 20-1 about the horse, probably a little bit over the odds, so it goes in for third. And then in for fourth, I've got number 12, Gossatino, for the Robbie Griffiths yard, and I think this horse can run well first up here. Only a $30,000 horse this horse costs, and she looks to be a pretty smart filly. She won really nice in a jump out on Monday, so she looked to have a little bit of turn of foot there, and I liked what I saw from that jump out there. So I do think she could run a race at the $12. Damien Lane is obviously a good booking, and it has a really nice draw. So look, I've mainly looked at, I mean, a lot of these have jumped out pretty well. Obviously, then it comes to race day, you've got to see how they perform on race day. But I've looked at a lot, mainly the horses that have got good barrier draws for this race here. And I think number 7, Son of America, is one I'm going to have on top, ahead of number 5, Predetermined, for second. And for third, I've got number 8, Tatsuro. Then in for fourth, number 12, Gossatino. Moving on to race number 3 on the program now. We got the Red Anchor Stakes over 1,200 metres. Look at the speed map, 9 horses to go around in this field here. Look, I suggest Mildred and Bella Nipotina will probably try and lead them up. Tarkula Diva probably won't be too far off the speed. And Portland Sky, I expect both of those two to roll forward off the inside 2 barriers there. Free to Move probably won't be too far away either. So should be a decent enough tempo here in this race. But look, I really like the looks of number 7, Valentina Nipotina here. I think this horse is really well suited for this type of race. Obviously coming out of the race behind Swatstat and Montessori last time out. Swatstat obviously heading towards a Coolmore, I think is a really good form line to bring into this type of race here. I think she looks really well suited. Obviously, it's had a couple of runs in tough grade. She obviously ran in the Moya, 2 starts back, Group 1 level. prior to that, she won really well at Caulfield, beat a decent field there and beat them quite comfortably. So I think she'll handle the soft conditions just fine if that's what we get tomorrow. That $4 looks to be a good bet for me, so it goes on top. Out of number 1, Val Quinta, who I think third up here can show some improvement. It's had a couple of decent runs so far as preparation, and I think that also perhaps getting onto the wet tracks. I only had the one run on the soft, which it didn't place in, but I do think that it can bounce to form, and I'm willing to give it another shot here. This horse, and has won here at the track before, which obviously is a big key with a lot of young horses. When they come to Moonee Valley for the first time, they can really struggle with the tight the circumference of the racetrack and that real sort of. You get that dip down the side where the school is, and then obviously the sharp turn around the bend, and sometimes that can really get horses off guard. But this horse has obviously won here at the track before, which is a big tick for me. So it goes in for second. In for third, I do have number 5, Portland Sky. Obviously gets that nice run from that inside barrier. I think will suit it nicely. Obviously comes out of a good race by September run last start. So I think that's a good form line to bring into this. Barrier number 1 obviously will suit nicely. And Takula Diva looks massively over the odds here, especially if we get a soft track tomorrow. I think this horse will be right at the finish from that good draw. I'm willing to forgive last start. She didn't jump out of the barriers very well, and she was back in the field and never able to really come on in that race. Swats that and would see it was a really leader-dominated race, that one, and nothing really came on from the back, so I could forgive that. I think she'll run much better coming onto a potentially rain-affected going, and coming around a bit more of a tighter bend, I think she'll run a lot better than what she did last start. Obviously, the barrier draw and the jump out of the barriers is obviously all important for her. So if she can get that right, she'll be right at the finish for me. But other chances of the race, I do think Rock the Ring can run well. First up, really impressed this horse did last preparation, and Free to Move won really well at this track last start, so he could also run a good race. Look, I'm really keen to go at number 7, Bella de Patina here. I think this looks to be a perfect race for her, and I think that she'll be really hard to beat. So she goes on top for me, ahead of number 1, Val Quinta, and for second. In for third, I've got number 5, Portland Sky. Then in for fourth, number 9, Takula Diva at a bit of value. Move on to race number 4 in the program. Now we've got the Lexus Filly Stakes over the 1,600 metres, and the 10 horses go around to this one. Look at the speed map. I think that Miss In Between and Yes Babe Yes will probably be the likely leaders. Incredulous Dream, so will it come into this off the 7-day backup? We'll wait and see by tomorrow. Off the inside barrier, I expect it to be towards the pace. Thermosphere won't be too far away, but I think Muslim Fear and Eka Maniacal, it's a bit of tough draws for them for out of barriers number 8 and 10. Like to be horses that like to train sort of right up towards the speed. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to get that from there, so a little bit tough for them to navigate. And look, I think it's a good race for number 1, Thermosphere. I think this horse will really relish the way this race looks set to match up. Obviously, she has to handle Moonee Valley. If she can do that, I think she'll be running really well. I think the soft track will suit her nicely. Getting back onto rain effect going, I think she can run a good race. And she obviously comes out of that the 1,000 Guineas form race out of last start in a Group 1 level, which the favourite Ecomaniacal also comes out of. But I think Thermosphere can just bounce back here, coming to, like I said, onto a softer track. Looks drawn to get a way better run than what Ecomaniacal is. That's a really sticky draw for John Allen to try and overcome with Ecomaniacal from that outside barrier, especially with like the pace that I can see on the inside. I just see that it potentially being wide, or he'll have to do really well to get a little bit of cover, or he'll have to ride it hard to get the speed. So a bit of a tricky one for Ecomaniacal, which as such a 250, I couldn't go anywhere near it. But Thermosphere, I think I'm quite comfortable with going it on top at the $4. In for second, if Incredulous Dream does run, I was really impressed with what it did last start at Caulfield, and I did give it a good chance. It was obviously in my top 4 last week, and I obviously ran really well. And I think that if it can run here again, if it does run, obviously we've got to see if it goes off the 7-day backup. I do think it'll run well again off that inside barrier to get the dream run of the race, and $7.50 is a really good price for me, so it goes in for second. In for third, I do have the favourite number 2, Ecomaniacal. Obviously, it's just the barrier draw of this horse. If it can find a slot in the race, I think it'll be pretty hard to beat. But if not, then I could definitely look elsewhere. And I think 250 is just too short to be having those little queries about a horse. So it goes in for third. And then for fourth, number 3, Miss In Between. I think this horse been showing brilliant effort so far in her racing career. She hasn't missed a top 2 finish this preparation, and she was just beaten by Embolism last time out on Blue Sapphire Stakes Day, and I thought that was a good run there. She'll be on speed and battling away, and she's obviously well trot. She's had a crack at the soft track before, so there's no little query there for her. But I think if she's able to I guess get her own way, she is pretty tough, and she will box on. I think she could have every chance of being the finish at the $13, so she has a chance. Obviously, Yes Baby Yes comes out of the form behind Incredulous Dream, gets the the weight actually goes up a kilo and Incredibles Dream. So the weights stay the same there, but I do think that Yes Baby Yes can also run a good race. So that's my other chance of the race there. So it looks for me a bit of a 5 horse race. I don't really see too many outside of those 5 being a strong chance in this, but very keen to bet number 1 Thermosphere. I think it's a great race for her, and I think she'll be hard to beat. Out of number 4 Incredibles Dream in for second. In for third, I've got number 2 Eka Maniacal. Then in for fourth, number 3 Miss In Between. Move on to race number 5 now. We got the Powerflow Solutions Stakes over the 1600 metres for the girls. Looking at the speed map here, and I think that we'll see Sovereign Award probably try and go towards the pace, but I think that Grace or Glamour will try and spear from that outside barrow and cross them and lead them up. I Am Eloquent I expect to be relatively prominent in the run also. Look, it looks a hard race to go against Sovereign Award, to be honest. It just looks to get the perfect run of the race. Has had 3 wins from 4 at this track. Has had 4 starts on a soft track for 2 wins and 2 placings. So just Jamie Carr's in terrific form. Just looks to get the perfect run of the race. I find her really hard to go past. I try to look at a few others. There's a few others that do have good chances, but I just think that this horse looks set to get the perfect run of the race. There's not a lot of speed drawn, unless a Grace or Glamour goes at a real fast clip. I think that this horse is going to get the perfect run of the race and be really hard to beat again. So it goes on top for me ahead of number 10 Paradis. I think it also run a good race. Obviously comes out of a 5th last time out, 2 Sovereign Award and Fabric. So similar race shape here. And I think that this horse though will be back in the field, and Ollie will have to probably try and get this horse a little bit more prominent to turn the tables on Sovereign Award for me. So obviously the weights, the swing of the weights probably not too bad. Obviously Paradis comes down 2 kilos, whereas Sovereign Award goes up 3. So that does work in the favour of Paradis, and it could see potential closing of the gap there. But I just see that the way the race shapes up, it looks hard for Sovereign Award to lose. So Paradis goes in for second. I think I'm Eloquent is a bit of a value at the odds. Third up here, this horse has had a win third up before in its preparation, and obviously the soft track I think will suit. The heavier the rain gets, the better for this horse. If we get around that soft 7 to heavy 8 range potentially tomorrow, if we get that far, this horse comes right into the thick of things. I think it's going to get a really good run of the race, just in behind the speed, and could really bounce back here. So I think $16 is a bit over the odds about it. Seat goes in for third. And then for fourth, another horse who really does like the wet and is massively over the odds here is number 7, My Pendant. This horse obviously had 5 starts on a soft track for 2 wins and 2 placings, and obviously it's been disappointing so far as preparation. Has never really fired a shot, but just interested what this horse can do coming back onto a rain-affected surface. Sometimes we can just see that real sharp turn in form about horses when they just change onto those good or wet tracks, and I'm expecting that could happen with her. She's going to be a long way back, so I hope that if Johnny Allen can get her out of the gates and just try and muster up a little bit and get her into maybe towards midfield, she'll need a little bit of luck, but if she does get that luck, she could be a sneaky chance of the $26, so she gets given a bit of a push from me. Obviously, Grace of Glamour's got to be given a chance. She's not a good wet tracker, but she does roll along on the pace. If she's able to dictate the turns, which from my speed map I think she'd be able to do, she could give them a sight and give them something to chase down. Ficino, look, this horse been pretty well out of form, but it's continued to be well in the market every single race. And so I think this horse, you can't count it out, has had a win here at Moonee Valley. But look, I found this race pretty easy. Bonavici's obviously another horse that you could give a bit of a chance to. But look, I think Sovereign Award wins. And then number 10, Paradis, the big danger for me. They're the two that look the toughest to beat. I wouldn't be surprised that I Am Eloquent can run a much better race into this third up. And on a rain-affected track, I expect it to run much better. And then for fourth, I've got number... Who did I have for fourth? Oh, yeah, My Pendant at the value as well. Obviously, Benetoire's another horse that doesn't mind a wet track, but this horse I thought had every possible chance in the Kilmore Cup recently. It is coming into this off a 6-day backup if it runs, so that is an interesting... look, that's an interesting little bit of form to weigh up there, but I don't know, just for me, there seems to be stronger form lines. This horse would have to really improve off its previous efforts to I guess, be winning this type of race here. Moving on to race number 6 on the program now, we got the Drummond Gold Vase over 2,040 metres, a Cox Plate distance. Look at the speed map here. I think that we might see Tanker roll forward and Captain Corelli and Reliable Love, and I think you can expect that those horses will be up towards the pace. And then I think Young Worth will probably try and sit back and be off the speed, and Luna Fox will probably try and get prominent as well from an outside barrier, as well as Cook Cove. I think they expect them to try and get into midfield with a little bit of cover there. Look, I'm hoping this is run at a really genuine tempo, because then I think it'll really set up nice for number 3, Cherry Tortoni. I think this horse can run right over the top of him. I was obviously ran into the Spring Champion Stakes Group 1 level over 2,000 metres. It was the first crack at 2,000, and look, he got a long way back there, and he didn't really run on. He was, but I'm willing to forgive that run coming back the Melbourne way of going, and I think back to Moonee Valley, a track where he was really good leading into that Spring Champion Stakes run. Obviously, 2 starts back behind Glenn Fiddick, and Glenn Fiddick was going to be one of the favourites for the Guineas, but he obviously decided to get scratched for that. And I think this horse went towards the Guineas as well. It would have run really well. So I think that 480 is a decent enough price for me to put on top. It has the strongest form in this race, so it's the one to beat for me. Ahead of number 2, Luna Fox in for second. I think this horse can, again, run a good race. I was really impressed with what I did in the Guineas last started behind Ole Kirk. Really hit the line strongly. And I think this horse is a very good each way bet at the $8.50, so I could definitely make a good push for it in for second. In for third, number 6, Young Werther looks to be obviously a really talented horse that's rising up the ranks. He seems to be getting better at each start. He was very good last time out behind Kukakoe. He was really a little bit unlucky as well. He was a bit wide in the run, and he still came home nice and attacked the line with a lot of gusto. So I think the 2,000 metres will suit this horse very nicely. And obviously, being a son of Tavistock, he's well bred, and being out of New Zealand, romantic time for mare. I think that he's obviously got the breeding to get out over further, so I think this will suit him nicely. But 215 is way too short for me. There's no chance I could take that price about this horse. So, but it does go in for third. Then in fourth, I do make a case for number 1, Kukakoe as well. Has been in good form and returned to that winning form last time out, and won nicely there on that occasion. So I wouldn't be surprised if it runs a race as well. But look, I am very keen on number 6, 3, Cherry Tortoni. I think this horse will bounce back nicely and be hard to beat, so it goes on top for me. Ahead of number 2, Luna Fox, I think it's a very good each way bet in this, and you could definitely have something each. So I could even suggest that you have a win bet on Cherry Tortoni and something each way, or possibly a small win and a bigger place bet on Luna Fox. I think you can get a good outcome out of that, taking those two. Young Werther goes in for third. Look, as I said, no disrespect about this horse, but I just think it's way too short. Obviously, only still a young horse and still improving, but for me, I just can't take that price, and there's still a couple of queries for me about this horse going in. And number 1, Kukakoe goes for third. Other chance of the race, obviously Tanko. Look, he won really well here at the track last time out, but it was on pace, leader bias that night. So, and the form hasn't been too great out of it. But $18 about last start winner is obviously a bit over the odds, and Johnny Get Angry as well, probably a little bit overs for Dennis Pagan. Wouldn't be surprised if this horse can run a good race. Comes out of that Kukakoe Young Werther race as well and finds himself at 20-1. Wasn't all that far off them. So, and Captain Corelli obviously gets inside barrier, could run a good race, but very keen on my top 4. I think they're going to be the top 4 that we'll be seeing in the race. So moving on to the quaddie legs of the program, obviously the race number 7, it is over 1,600 metres. It's the Schweppes Crystal Mile, and we've got the 9 horses to go around in the field. Yeah, so sorry, race number 7, just had to give it a little bit of a pause while I watched that race at Moonee Valley. I'm doing this while the Moonee Valley races are on. So race number 7, it's over 600 metres, the Crystal Mile. Look at the speed map here. I suggest that Streets of Avalon will probably lead them up with Ava de Chivalry. They look to be the 2 main leaders. This Olmedo is an interesting horse first up here. I'm interested to see where this horse goes. Could roll up towards the speed, potentially, but I wouldn't be more surprised if it probably sort of tries to land in about midfield. Dr. Drew will probably try and roll forward from the inside barrier as well, and Holmesman, he won't be too far away from the speed either, so it could see a pretty genuinely run 600 metres here. I think this is a perfect race for Kingswood Dream. I think this sets up really nice for him. Looks to be a really strong tempo in the race. He obviously has been running in top Group 1 company. Obviously last start he was in that race between Very Elegant and Toffee Tongue. It looks to be a great form race. Obviously, Very Elegant coming out winning the Caulfield Cup since. He was only 2.5 lengths off there on that occasion. Then he started prior behind Fierce Impact and Russian Camelot. He was less than 5. It was 4.9 lengths off the winner, Fierce Impact. There it goes round in a Cox Plate, obviously. So I just think that Kingswood Dream has the perfect form lines here for this type of race. He hasn't run well here at the track before, which is obviously a bit of a concern. But you can take a little bit of marking out of one of his runs at the track, because it was in a Cox Plate where he broke down. So you can completely forgive that. So you can basically say he's had one run at the track for no placings, but which is not really that bad of a thing, to be honest. And he comes in this 4th up. I think he can run well. I do think that he's obviously going to be rock hard fit now, and he will get every possible opportunity. And obviously as well, he was little bit unlucky last time out as well. He was sort of bolting for a run, couldn't really get it. He copped a bit of a check on that occasion as well. So just think that the way this race sets up for him, and I guess the field that he's up against, he gets every possible opportunity to bounce back and run well. So he goes on top for me. Ahead of this horse, Olmedo, I think this is an interesting runner first up. It's had a bit of money for, which is what you like to see. It's a former horse from Europe and ran one run first up here in Australia. And did really fine, finished 8th on that occasion. But the trials, has had 3 trials coming into this, and Chris Waller, I think, has it right to go first up. And I just like that there's been a bit of money for it. It's obviously always a great thing to see with a European horse first up. Obviously, has had a run here in Australia before, but the fact that it's got a nice bit of money for it first up, and it's had 3 trials, so it'll be wound up, ready to go. I think that's a bit of sign of intent from Chris Waller, and this horse has obviously a bit of ability, did come over here with a bit of a wrap. So I've got that horse in for second. In for third, I've got number 1, Homesman. I think will run well first up here. Obviously doesn't mind a wet track, so that doesn't really concern this galloper, and he looks to get a good running behind the speed. Obviously, if they go at a solid tempo, it might set up some of the back markers, but I think that he'll be right there at the finish, and he'll be hard to beat as well. So he definitely has a good chance and good claims there, and he goes for third. And then in for fourth, I do have number 6, Age of Chivalry. I think we'll be boxing on the speed there. But look, I'm pretty keen with my top 3. And I mean, besides them, Chief Ironside ran home well, pretty well last start. To finish 6th in the Toorak Handicap Group 1 race behind Mr. Quickie. So that was a good effort there. But it was set up for the back markers. Obviously, Mr. Quickie came from near last from about midfield. It was sort of just back at midfield to win that race there. So look, I do think that while that run was a good one, it had a bit of merit to it as well. And third up form is not flash about this horse either. And the soft form on a wet track is not great for this horse either. So bit of a query there. So look, I'm very keen with number 2, Kings of Dream. He's probably one of my best bets of the program, which is, I know it might surprise many of you considering he's not in great form, but this just looks to be the perfect race for him. He looks to get it well set up, and I think he'll be really hard to beat. He'll be finishing over the top for him. Ahead of number 4, Olmedo, I'm really interested in. In for third, number 1, Homesman. Then in for fourth, I've got number 6, Age of Chivalry. Also in that race, I expect Galaxy Raider to probably come out because it's running tonight at Moonee Valley. So moving on to race number 8, the Moonee Valley Gold Cup over 2,500 metres Group 3 race. Look at the speed map here. I suggest that we'll see Hush Rider and Trap Fools. They'll be the 2 definite leaders. I don't think we can doubt that at all. Etta James and Lavendi probably won't be too far off the pace either. I think they could be right up there. Ocean X probably won't be too far away either. So I can see, though, the Hush Rider and Trap for Fools, they'll be definitely leading them up and controlling the tempo of the race. It looks a perfect race for Shared Ambition. I'm not with it, though. I just think this horse had plenty of chances so far, and I just couldn't take it at the price. And I thought that the sound was worth a crack. He obviously was lined up to go in the Caulfield Cup. He's come into this instead. I don't know whether that's because, I don't know, maybe Michael Moroney wasn't all that confident in the Caulfield Cup. Not too sure. I didn't look too much into that, so my apologies. But obviously he's a very good horse. And, back last year, he was only beaten sort of 4 lengths in the Caulfield and Melbourne Cups this time last year. So he's got plenty of ability, and I think this is going to suit him nicely. Obviously finished second at Perth last time out in the Bar Cummings, and he could have got into the Melbourne Cup from that. He's probably going to have to win this to sort of push his place in the Melbourne Cup, and I think that's what Michael Moroney's probably thinking by running him here to get the win on the board and get himself close to a Melbourne Cup again. So I think he's the one to beat for me. Looks to be just might need a little bit of luck for that inside barrier, but I expect him to run really well and be right in the finish. So he goes on top ahead of number 4, Shared Ambition. I think it's D-Day for this horse. If he wants to be pushing towards, sort of that Melbourne Cup and get that last battle, he's got to win this race. And he's had plenty of chances so far, and that's just why I couldn't be with him this time round. I think he's had ample opportunity to win a race, and he just hasn't done so yet. So had to go against him being the favourite. In for second. In for third, number 8, Ocean X, who I'm confident horse will bounce back if we get a wet track tomorrow. Obviously, he's well performed on the rain-affected surfaces. It's been pretty disappointing so far as preparation, which is the only little query. But she does run really well at the track. She loves to sort of get up on speed and be fighting at the finish, and I think she can do that here, and I think she can run well here coming back to Moonee Valley and on a wet track. So she goes in for third. And then in for fourth, I do have number 10, Celina, who's an interesting horse coming across from the UK. Obviously, last start was at Doncaster over 3,600 metres, so it's a horse that's probably going to get over a bit further, but I'm expecting this horse can run well first up. Obviously, you've got to watch the betting with this horse, but Has run well on a wet track before, which is obviously a good sign. 3 placings from 3 starts, and I could expect a bit of a bold showing first up. Polly Gray's got some decent form, has been running well enough leading into this. I think I'll have to probably elevate her effort to win the race, but she's been racing in great form, and she comes back on a rain effective surface, which she does run her best on, so could see a bit of a bounce back from her. And Hush Rider, I expect to be running well. Obviously, 4th up now, rock hard fit. Should be leading a long way for a long way. But look, I'm pretty keen on number 7 Sound here. I think, again, don't think it's a race that's that wide open. I think that it'll be hard to beat. So it goes on top for me ahead of number 4 Shared Ambition for second. In for third, I've got number 8 Ocean X. And then in for fourth, I've got number 10 Celina. Moving on to race number 9 of the program now. This is the feature of the day, the 240 metre Cox Plate over the 100th running. And obviously we get the 14 horse to go around. Buckhurst comes in with Magic Wand being scratched today. So really interesting bit of change there, which I'm pretty glad about. Because I thought Magic Wand would run well. I expected it to be in the top half, but I do think that Buckhurst got a better winning chance than Magic Wand. So I don't mind that he's coming to the race. It just makes it a little bit more interesting and intriguing. So look at the speed map here. I think the Buckhurst and Glen Slam, they probably will be the two that'll be right up on the pace. So I don't really see many of these other ones rolling forward. Maybe you might see Dragonette, Aspetar, and Armory. They might look to sort of roll and just get into their work. I don't see them taking on the speed though. So they'll be sort of just rolling along and getting into a decent enough position. And look, I'm keen to be with number 12 Armory here. He looks to be a really promising horse. He's obviously he's by Galileo. He's got a similar profile to that of 2014 winner Adelaide, and he obviously being trained by Aidan O'Brien. Ryan Moore's not riding though. Hit the regular rider, and Ben Mallam is in the saddle. But I think this horse has the right form line. I mean, the third last time out at Ireland in the stakes race there behind Magical and Giarth, that was a proper Group 1 race there. I mean, that's really elite form for me. They're the top horses sort of coming around to this. And obviously prior to that, over 10,000 metres, it won nicely in Ireland. So I think this horse has got just the right form lines for me, number 12 Armory, and I think I'm going to have it on top. Obviously, has won on a wet track before, which is a big tick out of tomorrow, and I think it's just come down here in the right vein of form and is ready to go first up. Ahead of number 13, Probability is going to get the gun running behind the speed. She's been absolutely terrific so far. She loves all that soft track. Hopefully it doesn't get heavy for her. She's had 10 starts on a soft track, 4 wins and 5 places. So for me, as an each way bet, she looks terrific at the $9 and $3 a place. So, and she looks just be, I can't really see her not being in the finish. So she goes for second. In the third, I do have number 15, Buckhurst. I think he's over the odds here. He has beaten home some of these horses. He's got obviously form around Tiger Moth and Sir Dragonette and Magical. He came out of that same race as the one that Armory comes in. So Buckhurst got to make a case for him. Probably should be making a case of Sir Dragonette, but I can't leave Russian Camelot out of the top 4. I think he'll be running well. I think if he can obviously get in a spot from that wide barrier, and if they do go back on him and they get a genuinely run race, he obviously can come into it. But I just think that, it's a very tough barrier, and $3.90 for me is, sort of right down the bottom of the odds. No horse has ever won a race in the Cox Plate from the outside barrier. So, history's right against him. It's 100 years of history, but he obviously is a very good horse, and he's got plenty of upside. And I expect he'll be in the finish, so I'll put it that way. Katie Queen, obviously got to give her a chance. She's obviously was terrific last start, stepping out at 2,000 metres for the first time. I was so impressed with that effort. She put Russian Camelot away very easily. The wet track's going to be the query for her, obviously. She's definitely a dry tracker and runs her best on top of the ground. So that's the little query I have with her. So Dragonette, I think, can run really well first up here. I'm expecting a bold performance. Obviously, similar form lines to what I mentioned of Armory and the likes, and obviously finished second at Buckhurst over in Ireland. But it's a horse that doesn't know really how to win. It knows how to run well, but doesn't know how to win races, and that's part of my issue. It's has had 2 wins from 9 career starts, but obviously 4 starts last preparation for 4 seconds, and but obviously you got really elite form lines of Mountain Dragon, second or Magical, so really you can't knock that type of form there. So I think the Sir Dragonette can run well. I think a horse that's massively over the odds is number 5 Mugger. I mean, he's been prepped for this run ever since the autumn, and I think that he's just going to get a perfect run of the race from barrier number 9, and he just looks really well placed. 2,400 back to the 2,000 metres, obviously a bit of a query, but the wet track I think will suit him nicely, and I think he can be running a good race at the 21 to 1. But look, I'm really keen and set down on some of these horses that I've got around my top 4. And I think Armory's the one to beat for me, ahead of number 13. Probably is going to get the gun run of the race. So I'm going to have something each way on both of them. In for third, I've got number 15 Buckhurst, and in for fourth, I've got number 11 Russian Camelot. Move on to the final race of the program, race number 10. Now, the scratching will be written. Beauty is going around here at Moonee Valley tonight, so can take that out, the $3 favourite. So we'll see plenty of changes in the betting, so just bear in mind of that. There'll be plenty of changes. I think Melbourne Storm will roll forward. Maha, La Mexicana, obviously don't have to worry about Written Beauty in terms of a speed battle. So I think we'll just see the likes of Maha, La Mexicana, and Melbourne Storm leading up, and the likes of Minaj and Pretty Rossa and Race on Detra probably sitting around midfield there and a bit in behind the speed. And as such, I see Maha getting a really good run of the race here. I don't think it could be hard to beat. I thought it's second to September on last start reads really well. Obviously beat a lot of these home last time out. Only goes up a kilo from that effort. So looks to get a really good run on speed, and I think it could be really hard to beat here. So it goes on top for me ahead of number 1 Minaj, who comes out of that same form race, finished third in that same race behind September run. Obviously, last time out carried the 56.5, goes up to 58.5. So it actually gets an extra kilo on of Maha and actually finds itself short in the market, which really does confuse me. But I do consider obviously Minaj will be right in the finish again. I do think she's been travelling well and been running really well so far as preparation. So I think she can run well, and she's definitely a bit of a winning chance. Third up here, Rock Hard Fit. If a third, I've got number 8, La Mexicana, will be up on the speed. Obviously loves a wet track and was really impressive winning last start at Cranbourne. I know that was only a benchmark 64, but the way that she did it there looked really nice. Looked at the type of win that you'll see from a stakes class horse, and I think that this horse will be right up to running well here, so it goes for third. And then if a fourth, I've got number 4, Highly Discreet. I think we'll be running on nicely. Obviously ran a real eye-catcher first up at Moonee Valley behind Swats That, and then finished 5th last time out down the track, but nothing really made ground on that occasion behind Montessira and Swats That at Caulfield, so a little bit of a give run there. If it can bounce back to what it did first up, I think it can be running really well, and obviously third up, I think we could see a bit of improvement out of this horse here, so he goes in for 4th at the $9. The other chance in the race, I do give number 2, Stella Pauline, coming onto a wet track. I think it will suit this horse nicely. She's obviously had plenty of form, and her 2-year-old campaign was great. She hasn't really come back the best as a 3-year-old. I mean, she had that debut win at Wyong, I believe it was, and then her 3 runs since in I guess real proper group company have been quite underwhelming, so she would have to lift her form, but $31 is a bit over the odds about her, but can give her a bit of a chance. But recap the numbers for me. Look, I am very keen to go with number 3 Maha on top on a best value bet to the program for me, ahead of number 1 Minaj, and for second. In for third, I've got number 8 La Mexicana. Then for fourth, I've got number 4 Highly Discreet. So going to run over the best bets and best value bets of the program. So look, for me, the best value bet of the program has to come in the final race of the program, race number 10, number 3 Maha at the $8 and $2.50 the place. Looks to be set up really nice for this horse. I think that's a great price, so it's my best value bet of the program. The other one that I didn't mind at a bit of each way value does come obviously really early in the program. It's in the 2-year-old race, and it's race number 2, number 7 Son of Mercury at the $6.50. I think it was a good each way price. Best bets of the program though, we're going to be looking at race number 7, and we're going to be looking at number 2 Kingswood Dream at the $5.50. I think it's a perfect race for it, and it'd be really hard to beat. So race number 7, number 2 Kingswood Dream is my best bet of the program. And the other one that I don't mind as well comes in race number 6, and it is number 3 Cherry Tortoni at the $4.80 is my other best bet of the program. So looking through the Quaddie selections for tomorrow. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm about to run out of time on this video, so I'm going to wrap it up there. Just obviously look in the description, you'll see my Quaddie selections in there, obviously subject to change based off scratchings tomorrow, but I've got a rough idea on which ones will be scratched, and then obviously just see if there's any surprise ones for tomorrow morning. But thank you for tuning in, really appreciate it. As always, like I said, subscribe if you're new, comment down below. I really want to hear your thoughts ahead of tomorrow. Who have you got to win the Cox Plate tomorrow? But then also for all the races, really enjoy the discussion. Go and follow my social media channels if you've ever already done so. CL_Racing Tips on Facebook and CL Racing Tips on Facebook. Instagram and Facebook. So good luck for playing tomorrow. Obviously enjoy the terrific races, and keep an eye out with my Bondi Stakes Randwick video will be coming up very shortly. So stay tuned if you're keen to have a look at Randwick tomorrow. But thank you for tuning in once again, and hope you have a terrific weekend.